The raid starts, and already one of the hunters is about to have a complete meltdown. Because they're not fighting some low-level mob, they've walked straight into a boss-level nightmare. Yeah, no kidding, Sherlock. This easy mission is turning into a total wipeout. With reinforcements missing and death on the line, a lone figure steps out from the chaos. And with 2 simple words, he commands the entire battlefield. He unleashes a storm of absolute power, shredding the monster in a single devastating move. The team can't believe their eyes. The rumors about him were true. And our streamer friend just hit the content jackpot because he's broadcasting this legend live. This isn't just any high ranker. This is the infamous Hunter of Hunters. That's right, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Gi Shinbek has entered the game. While the world worships him, we cut to someone who clearly couldn't care less. And with one look, you can tell this isn't admiration, it's pure resentment. Flashback to his graduation, where the world's greatest hunter couldn't even bother to show up for his own son. And of course, some clueless classmate just has to rub salt in the wound. He throws out a weak excuse, but the lie hangs heavy in the air. And for the final twist of the knife, they ask him to photograph the one thing he'll never have. Forced to frame a perfect family portrait while his own is completely shattered. He takes the picture, but that cold, hard look in his eyes tells you he's accepted his fate. He walks home to an empty house, the excuse, "My dad's busy," echoing in the silence. He steps inside only to be greeted by a voice that changes everything. It's his mom, and the look on her face tells you this family is drowning in sorrow. Because she's been a full-time caretaker for his older sister, who's been trapped in a deep sleep. A sleep that has lasted for 12 long, agonizing years. So when he finally confronts her, all that pent-up resentment comes pouring out. But her excuse is the one thing he can't stand to hear. It's always about his sister. He completely snaps, because for just one day, he wanted to be the one who mattered. As his anger boils over, a cold, sharp voice cuts right through the tension. And speak of the devil, the busy dad is home, looking like he just walked off a battlefield. Forget a warm welcome. He gets a stone-cold threat for daring to raise his voice. And with one last look of pure contempt, the world's greatest hunter proves he's the world's worst father. Fueled by pure rage, he storms out, declaring he'll train until he breaks. But his father isn't done twisting the knife, hitting him with a condescending "still?" And then comes the final blow. You'll never be a hunter because you have no talent. The world's greatest hero tells his son to just give up and disappear. So he does the only thing he can. He goes to the gym to fight the man he despises, even if it's just a proxy. His raw fury immediately catches the eye of the gym's owner, who knows he's looking at something special. Because this isn't just training. This is a declaration of war against his own bloodline. Every single strike is fueled by a desperate promise. I will prove you wrong. He's getting absolutely dominated, but the fire in his eyes refuses to go out. And right at his breaking point, a mysterious power erupts from his very soul. The gym owner sees the chains, and for a split second, he's actually impressed. Taegyong thinks he's finally landed a hit, a single victory against the world that's crushed him. But that little smirk on his opponent's face says, "Nice try, kid." And just like that, his newfound power shatters like cheap glass. The look on his face says it all. His one shot at proving his dad wrong just went up in smoke. He's not just outmatched, he's being played with like a toy. And to add insult to injury, the gym owner hits him with the ultimate condescending praise. Turns out, having a legendary power doesn't mean much if you don't know how to use it. He's so desperate, he's literally begging the guy to stop being so overpowered. And after all that rage and humiliation, the fight ends with an invitation to dinner. The guy who just wiped the floor with him is now buying him dinner, but Taegyong's pride is a little hard to swallow. But our boy isn't here for a free meal. He's already demanding a rematch. Rest? For him, that's a 4-letter word because he knows he's running out of time. He's seen the competition, and they're talking cheat codes with powers he can only dream of. And in a moment of pure desperation, he admits the one thing he's terrified of. He's not good enough. Because this whole insane death wish isn't about glory. It's about getting one single nod from the man who broke him. He can't rest because home isn't a sanctuary. It's just another battlefield. But the gym owner drops a truth bomb that hits harder than any punch. He tells him that without a safe place to fall, you're just one bad day away from completely breaking. And just as that sinks in, we're ripped away to a protest that's about to change the entire world. While Taegyong's world falls apart, a new kind of monster is being hunted on the streets. Humans who returned from other worlds. These returnees are being branded as invaders, and public hatred is reaching a boiling point. And leading the charge is a man screaming a message of pure, unadulterated fear. His cry that this is not their home cuts deep, because for Taegyong's family, home has been a hospital room for 12 years. The gym owner's words echo with bitter irony. Home is supposed to be a sanctuary, but for our boy, it's a war zone. As the world screams, go back to hell, Taegyong pulls out his phone, hoping for one single piece of good news. But what he gets is a rejection letter from the one academy that could have changed his life. The words "not accepted" hit him like a physical blow as the world itself tells him to give up. And just like the gym owner predicted, when things get tough, he has absolutely nowhere to turn. So he finally snaps, smashing the last of his hope into a million pieces on the wet pavement. He screams at the world because for him, life is already a living hell. He roars into the rain, demanding to know where a failure like him is even supposed to go. The rage finally burns out, leaving him empty and defeated on the cold, wet steps. He's hit rock bottom with nothing left to lose, until a single sound cuts through the silence. Through the wreckage of his hope, a single call gets through. It's his mom. He answers, his voice barely a whisper, completely unprepared for what he's about to hear. But the news on the other end is so impossible, his brain can't even process it. He sprints to the hospital, and the scene waiting for him is something straight out of a dream. After 12 agonizing years, the miracle they stopped praying for has finally happened. His sister is awake. But as his mother cries tears of relief, you see the one person who can still turn this miracle into a nightmare. He finally sees her, the ghost his family sacrificed everything for, and she's real. But this miracle comes with an immediate price tag, and our boy is not ready to pay. Mom's already laying it on thick. The family that suffers together is now expected to care for her together. But Taegyong's not having it. His new life was supposed to be about him, and he's not giving that up. He doesn't just refuse, he denies she's even his sister, throwing 12 years of sacrifice right back in their faces. And just like clockwork, Dad of the Year steps in to play the hero, only to get a face full of pure, unfiltered rage. But as the two alpha males tear the room apart, a tiny, frail voice cuts right through the noise. For the first time in 12 years, his sister speaks. And her first words are a desperate plea for her broken family to just stop fighting. And just like that, the girl in the bed has more power than the world's strongest hunter, shutting them all down with a single sentence. He tries to play the big brother, but the look in his eyes says he's the one who's completely lost. And with that, the war at home settles into a cold, silent truce. So now he's pulling mandatory family duty, but this isn't a reunion, it's a hostage situation. Mom hoped this would bring them closer, but his sister looks more like a prisoner than a patient. And our boy's idea of bonding is building a wall of silence one page at a time. But family duty doesn't stop the grind. His war against his father is still priority number one. He's still haunted by his failures, a constant reminder that the world has already written him off. He drags himself back to the hospital, convinced that nothing he does will ever change his fate. But when he opens the door, he finds an empty bed and a chilling breeze. Because the miracle sister he never wanted is suddenly impossibly gone. He finds her sitting alone on a park bench, looking like a ghost who's forgotten her own haunting grounds. He finally tracks her down, but his relief comes out as pure, unfiltered panic. Turns out, the miracle recovery room felt more like a prison cell she had to escape. But her simple request to stay outside a little longer completely short-circuits his brain. So now they're stuck in the most awkward family reunion ever, separated by a silence 12 years in the making. She finally breaks the ice but calls him by a name that isn't his, and suddenly, this story has a brand new mystery. And then she drops the emotional atom bomb. Do you hate me? Her reason? He's not the little brother she remembers. He's become something cold and intimidating. She even says he's just like their dad now, which is the one comparison guaranteed to make his blood run cold. But that look in her eyes tells you this isn't just about him. She's hiding a secret that's been buried for 12 long years. She lays out the brutal reality of waking up 12 years late. Everyone's moved on, and she's been left behind. And as he listens, something inside him cracks. She finally breaks down, admitting she feels completely alone in a world that forgot she existed. And that one word hits him like a ton of bricks because he knows exactly how that feels. So he does what he does best. He gets defensive, trying to brush off a pain that's way too familiar. But for the first time, he's not pushing her away. He's actually trying to pull her back from the edge. He's basically giving her the pep talk he wishes someone had given him. And in trying to save her, he accidentally ends up saving himself. He's not just comforting his sister anymore, he's reigniting his own war. And with one quiet word, the ice between them finally begins to thaw. He tries to bring things back to reality, but he's about to find out reality just left the building. Because his sister doesn't need a wheelchair when she can literally break the laws of physics. Yeah, that 12-year sleep wasn't a coma. It was a full-blown isekai adventure to the fairy realm. And just like that, the talentless son discovers his sister is the one who hit the genetic jackpot. Suddenly, those protests against returnees from another world feel a little too close to home. His father's cruel words come crashing back, a bitter reminder of the talent he was told he'd never have. And the universe just loves to rub it in, showing him the one person with all the power is the sister he resented. He's left sitting in the dark, watching the miracle he never wanted literally float out of his league. The look on his face says it all. His entire world has just been flipped and he's not on top. But the family drama is cut short by a scene of pure panic, because back at the hospital, Mom knows something is terribly wrong. We flash back to a time before the tragedy, when the biggest problem was getting dirt on your clothes. But this isn't just a sweet memory. It's the calm before the storm that shatters their entire world. Because that promise of tomorrow was a lie, and this playground would soon become a ghost of a memory. The happy past fades into the broken present, a perfect picture of a family torn apart by time and trauma. We get a glimpse of the life they lost, the simple, chaotic moments that were stolen from them. A family dinner, a mother's smile, all memories from a life that no longer exists. This is it, the final peaceful night before everything changes forever. Her last thought as a normal kid is a simple one. What should we play tomorrow? Little did she know her tomorrow was about to be postponed for 12 long years. And just like that, her sleep is interrupted by a visitor who is definitely not from around here. This wasn't a coma, it was a job offer from another dimension. Her mission? Save the world. The catch? She only thought she was gone for 6 months, but when she came back, her little adventure had cost her 12 years of her life. And just like that, the family reunion is crashed by government agents who label her a returnee. Their proof? The power-sealing tech that stops normal hunters doesn't even scratch her. So the interrogation begins, and they want to know everything about her little trip to fairyland. She tells them about learning magic, survival skills, and the one rule that mattered most. How to survive the one person who ruled that world with an iron fist, the Queen. She claims her ticket home was just giving the Queen a good scolding, but that innocent smile is hiding something big. And the agent puts it all together. Scolding is a nice word for I ended the Queen's reign permanently. She tries to play it down, but her panicked face screams, I'm a terrible liar. But the agent isn't buying it, because in his book, returnee is just another word for unregistered nuke. And just outside the door, Taegyong overhears the one truth that will change everything. The agent drops the final bomb. His sister isn't just powerful, she's stronger than an S-class hunter. And in that moment, the talentless son realizes the genetic lottery skipped him entirely. So the government's final verdict? She's on house arrest, and her family are now her official prison guards. And to make sure they comply, the Bureau is sending a hunter to be her full-time warden. As Taegyong walks away, you realize his family just traded one prison for another. But hold on, we cut to a mysterious meeting where someone is being thanked for a very specific inquiry. And it turns out they were talking about Taegyong. His physical stats are great, but the report is about to deliver the butt that will crush him. The report says he's got the body, but when it comes to actually fighting, he's completely useless. His legendary power is literally weaker than a regular set of chains you could buy at a hardware store. So after all that pain and rage, his official rank is F-class, the absolute bottom of the barrel. And just when he's at his lowest, his sister calls him by the wrong name again, a ghost from a past that isn't his. She finds him wallowing in his own failure, completely oblivious to the real reason he's broken. She thinks he's scared of her power, trying to comfort him like he's a lost puppy. She tries to tell him everything's the same, but he's not listening, because for him, everything is worse. And he hits her with 2 words that shatter her entire world. Go away. She's completely stunned, but he just doubles down, telling the sister he barely knows to leave him alone. She's heartbroken, asking why, but she has no idea she's talking to a brother who just had his entire future erased. She just wants to know why, completely clueless that she's poking at a wound that's been festering for years. He can't even say it because the real reason isn't her power, it's his own pathetic weakness. So he unleashes all that self-hatred on the one person who had nothing to do with it. She just survived a 12-year trip to another dimension, only to be emotionally wrecked by her own brother. He's looking at his sister, but all he sees is a living, breathing trophy of the genetic lottery he lost. And with that, he turns his back, shattering the last fragile piece of his broken family. He wanders into the city, a ghost haunting his own life, completely invisible to the world around him. And then comes the bitter smile of a man who realizes he's become the one person he despises, his father. The anger finally cools, leaving him with the cold, hard reality of what he just did. He calls himself pathetic, because he just pushed away the only other person in his family who knows what it's like to be abandoned. But his pity party is cut short by the sound of citywide panic. He follows the chaos only to find a crowd gathered around a fallen hero. And the hero is his father, looking like he just lost a war for the first time in his life. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, his sister is having a rock-bottom moment of her own. Because being told to go away by the brother she just got back hits harder than any dimensional queen. So she decides to take his advice, but not in the way he meant. She doesn't just leave the room. She leaves gravity, sanity, and her prison behind. And in that moment, she's not a patient or a victim. She's a queen surveying her new kingdom. Her first stop? The ghost of their childhood, a playground swallowed by time and darkness. A place that used to be their entire world, now just a painful reminder of the life she can never get back. She's lost in memories of a time before the world broke, when bath time was the biggest adventure. A time when her family was whole, and dinner was a battlefield of smiles, not silence. And her silent grief explodes into a desperate roar to go back to a life that no longer exists. But her pity party is about to be crashed by two strangers who definitely aren't here to reminisce. They corner her, acting like they own the place, but the real question is, do they know who they're talking to? She tries to play dumb, but her hospital pajamas are kind of a dead giveaway that she's not from around here. And of course they hit her with the classic, "This place is too dangerous for a civilian" line, completely underestimating the nuke in a nightgown. She tries to politely decline their help, because explaining she just flew here from the hospital is a bit much. But these guys aren't taking no for an answer, and their escort comes in the form of a full-force attack. The hit lands, but the only thing that shatters is their assumption that this was going to be easy. They're not even a team. They're just fighting over who gets to claim the prize. But the prize isn't staying down, and one twitch of her finger tells you this fight is far from over. The thugs stop dead in their tracks because the girl they just took down is doing the one thing she's not supposed to. She's getting back up, and their confidence just took a nosedive. But she's not angry. She's terrified because she has no idea why a full-force attack felt like a love tap. He's wondering why his bat didn't work, and she's wondering why these strangers are attacking her in the first place. But they don't care about why. They just see a target that's tougher than she looks, and that makes her more fun. So she pulls out the oldest trick in the book, threatening to shoot with nothing but her bare hands. They laugh, calling her crazy, completely missing the lethal energy crackling at her fingertips. And just as she's about to unleash hell, we flash back to where she learned her very first spell. Her first lesson in magic? A simple spell called archery. She was taught that it was a harmless spell, nothing to be afraid of. It's not supposed to be lethal, it just stuns your opponent for a second. But the agent's warning comes crashing back. When you return to Earth, your powers change. And these two idiots are about to find out what change really means. Because her harmless spell just erased one of them from existence. She looks at her hands completely horrified because she has no idea what she just did. And as one family member discovers a terrifying new power, the other finds his father completely broken. The invincible hunter of hunters is carrying a fallen comrade, defeated and exposed. And of course, our favorite streamer is right there, broadcasting the fall of a legend to the entire world. The question hangs in the air, but his eyes aren't on his fallen friend. They're scanning the crowd. And in a sea of faceless onlookers, Taegyong stands frozen, witnessing the one thing he never thought he'd see. His father's failure. Their eyes lock, and in that one look, the world's greatest hunter becomes just a father who's found his runaway son. But this isn't a family reunion. It's a crime scene, and the body on the ground is a grim reminder of what happens when heroes fail. And of course, Dad's first words aren't, "Are you okay?" but a stone-cold accusation. He asks if this is his first time seeing the aftermath, and our boy lies through his teeth, hiding the fact that his sister just caused a scene of her own. But his father isn't here for small talk. He's here to deliver a lecture in the form of a single chilling number. He lays out the brutal math of being a hunter, where your best-case scenario is just surviving the day. This isn't a warning to be careful. It's a final, crushing attempt to tell his son to just give up. He grabs his son, not in comfort, but to force him to look at the world he's so desperate to join, a world built on loss. And then Dad hits him with the one question designed to break him completely. For the first time, our boy admits the one truth he's been running from. He's not strong enough. And his father, seeing his son finally break, twists the knife one last time with a look of pure pity. He walks away, not in anger, but in total, soul-crushing acceptance. Because he realizes his father was right all along, he's always been a failure. He's forced to face his own useless, shattered abilities, and the cold, hard truth of a world that will chew him up and spit him out. The heroes on the screen aren't an inspiration anymore, they're a monument to his own failure. He's so lost, he can't even remember the kid who used to dream of being one of them. With his anger gone and his spirit broken, he's left with the one question that terrifies him most. What now? He's ready to give up on his dream, but the universe is about to show him what real power looks like. His rock-bottom moment is interrupted by a sight so impossible, his brain can't even catch up. He finally recognizes his runaway sister, but the girl floating down is not the one he left behind. Because this isn't his frail, lost sister. This is a terrifying, blood-soaked goddess. He snaps out of his stupor, thinking she's the one in danger, completely oblivious to the real threat. But she's not hurt. She's recoiling in horror from what she's just done. And her first words aren't a greeting, they're a desperate, panicked warning. Because the person she's trying to protect him from is herself. And in that flash of light, he realizes the stains on her clothes were never her own. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, every alarm is about to go off, because their S-class prisoner is officially off the leash. The harmless spell just leveled the entire playground. And the hospital's PA system just confirmed their S-class nuke has officially gone missing. The suspicious person they're warning everyone about is his sister, and she's having a full-blown magical meltdown. He screams at her to stop, but he's not trying to save the city. He's trying to save her from herself. But she's not in control anymore, begging an enemy only she can see to just let her go. Because her power isn't just out of control, it's actively trying to turn her brother into its next victim. And in a flash of dark energy, she's about to give him the one thing he never wanted, a real fight. The official report will say she's a threat, indiscriminately attacking the public. And the official punishment for a rogue returnee is immediate on-site execution. With his dad too far and the police too slow, the F-rank failure realizes he's the only one who can stop her. The attack connects, and for a split second it looks like he's just another victim in her path. He's not just outmatched, he's staring down a god and his brain is screaming one simple truth: he can't win. So he does the only logical thing an F-rank can do when faced with an S-class meltdown: he runs. He tells himself it's not his fault, because abandoning his sister is better than being erased with her. But as he flees, something inside him snaps, and the coward he was a second ago is suddenly gone. Because he's not just some random bystander anymore, he's her brother, and that changes everything. While he has his epiphany, his sister is completely lost, hating the world and the power that's consuming her. She's begging to be free, not from her enemies, but from the monster she's become. But through all that chaos, his voice cuts through, and for a single moment she remembers who she is. And the F-rank failure charges headfirst into an S-class catastrophe because saving his family is the one fight he refuses to lose. He's screaming through the pain, trying to reach the sister buried under all that power, because he finally understands what his father never did. Being a hero isn't about winning. It's about showing up when it counts, and right now he's the only hunter on the scene. But as he tries to talk her down, she asks the one question that cuts him to the core. Why? She can't understand why he'd save her because in her mind, she's already a monster. And just as her power is about to overwhelm her, a memory from another world cuts through the chaos. We're ripped back to the fairy realm, where she wasn't a monster but a legend. The fairies called her their savior, the one who saved their entire world. But even back then, she couldn't accept the title of hero. Because she knows the truth. She may have saved their world, but she's completely lost in her own. She confesses her deepest fears to the fairy queen. She's a dangerous killer with no one to turn to. But the queen hits her with a truth she's never considered. Because at least one person doesn't hate her. The brother who's literally walking through hell just to pull her back. And in that memory, the queen gives her one final command. Go back to where you belong. And in the present, her brother is making sure she does. The storm finally breaks, leaving 2 broken kids in the wreckage, surrounded by the flashing lights of their consequences. She's not a monster anymore, just a little sister who's finally home. And in that moment, the F-rank failure realizes he's finally found the one thing worth fighting for. But their reunion is cut short by a new player entering the game, and his first word is a threat. And that new player? He just spotted the one kid who walked through an S-class meltdown and lived to tell the tale. The official story is a cover-up, burying the night's chaos under a thin layer of police tape. And while the world forgets, his sister's reward for saving her brother is a one-way ticket to a government black site. But her solitary confinement is about to be interrupted by a visitor she never expected. The fire in her eyes is gone, replaced by the cold, hard look of a girl who's accepted her cage. She's not a patient anymore. She's a national security threat, and this is her permanent escort. But the only thing she can think about is the one person she hurt the most, her mother. And her first visitor isn't mom or dad, but the brother she almost erased from existence. She's completely shocked, because the last thing she expected was to see the boy she almost destroyed. But that look on his face isn't forgiveness. It's the cold, hard stare of a man with a plan. The family reunion continues in a government black site, and the silence is so heavy it has its own gravity. But she's so broken, she can't even get his name right, accidentally calling him the one person they both despise. He cuts right through her confusion with a bombshell of his own. I'm here to bail you out. Because our F-rank failure pulled a pro-gamer move and hired a mind reader to get the real story. And the truth is, her meltdown wasn't a random act of violence at all. It was self-defense, a fact that's about to blow this whole case wide open. She's completely lost because justified use of force isn't exactly a spell they teach you in fairyland. He tells her she's free to go, but she's still haunted by the one thing she can't take back. She thinks she's a killer. And then he drops the final plot twist. The guy she vaporized is perfectly fine. He looks her dead in the eye and gives her the one thing she thought she'd never have again, a clean slate. The weight of the world finally lifts, and for the first time in 12 years, she's actually free. But our boy's relief isn't emotional. It's the cold, calculated satisfaction of a plan perfectly executed. And just as the siblings have their moment, the government lady cuts in to remind them this isn't a family reunion. Taekyung isn't even fazed. The broken kid from yesterday is officially gone. Turns out freedom isn't free, but a hospital bill is a small price to pay for getting away with S-class property damage. But the agent's gratitude comes with a cryptic warning, hinting that this happy ending is built on a very fragile foundation. And then she drops the real bomb. The perfectly fine victim is actually dead. The biggest twist isn't the lie, it's that our boy was the one who told it, bearing the truth to protect her. She walks away, believing in her second chance, completely oblivious to the monster her brother is hiding for her. And just when you think it's over, the agent hands him a mysterious envelope that's about to change the game all over again. But this isn't just a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a message delivered straight to the world's worst dad. And his first response isn't relief, it's pure rage, demanding to know who dared to interfere with his family. And the puppet master pulling the strings is none other than our favorite chip-eating, sideline-coaching gym owner. Meanwhile, the F-rank failure is back at the gym, turning his useless power into a weapon, one link at a time. His new training isn't about raw power. It's about control, turning his pathetic chains into precision weapons. And for the first time, his power actually works, taking down its first ever victims, a row of defenseless soda cans. He's pouring his heart and soul into training, but his new mentor is just happy to have a front row seat with snacks. His insane dedication is turning heads because this kid trains like he's paying rent, not a day pass. But even the most intense training session can be derailed by the sound of your mentor loudly eating chips. He blames the snacks for his distraction, but he's really about to ask for the one thing that will let him fight back for real. But his mentor hits him with a brutal truth. Monsters don't care if you're distracted. He tells him that in a real dungeon, getting flustered by a snack wrapper is a death sentence. And the final verdict, delivered with a crunch: you lack training. Taekyung is completely thrown, asking how this stranger seems to know his every weakness. He gets defensive, demanding to know why this guy is tearing him down without knowing the hell he's been through. But his mentor isn't here for a sob story. He cuts him off with a cold, "I get that." He admits the kid has the raw talent and the physical gifts to be great. But his actual skill is so bad, the mentor can literally walk circles around him without breaking a sweat. And then comes the first real lesson. His power is a constant drain, and he's using it all wrong. The diagnosis is simple. He's all power and no precision, which is just a fancy way of saying he's still useless. He tells him that pros don't waste power. They use just enough to get the job done, and he's about to demonstrate. And with less effort than it takes to open that bag of chips, he unleashes a surgical strike. The attack hits its target with pinpoint accuracy, and Taegyong can't believe his eyes. And the mentor's casual "get it" is met with the stunned silence of a kid who just saw the impossible. Because he didn't just destroy the cans, he did it with so much control that the snacks on top are completely untouched. But the lesson isn't over, because the mentor drops a truth bomb. Taegyong doesn't even know his own true power. He pulls out a mysterious artifact, a tool used to summon returnees, and tells him to bring it close to his chains. The chains immediately react, and the mentor's smug grin confirms he just proved a theory he's had all along. The mentor asks him to remember the hospital, and Taegyong flashes back to the moment he held his sister in the ruins of her meltdown. Because he wasn't just a bystander, he saw the exact moment Taegyong's chains made contact with his sister. Because in that moment, his chains didn't just stop her, they completely shut down an S-class returnee. In other words, the F-rank failure has the one power nobody knew existed, the ability to seal a returnee. The mentor looks him dead in the eye and confirms it. His useless chains are an anti-returnee cheat code. But he's not done dropping truth bombs, telling him that raw power without a plan is just a waste of time. And Taegyong finally asks the million-dollar question, who the hell is this guy? Turns out he's a professor at Seunghyun Academy, the very school that crushed his dreams with a rejection letter. And he's not here for a training session. He's here to offer our boy the one thing he thought he'd never get. Taegyong's brain short-circuits because Seunghyun is the name of the place that told him to give up. He stammers about his failed test, but his new mentor just brushes it off because rules are for people who don't have world-breaking powers. He tells him the choice is his, offering him the golden ticket he's been bleeding for his entire life. The mentor lays it all on the table, asking the one question that could change everything. After a lifetime of rejection, our boy finally gets to say the words he's been dreaming of. And the professor's smug grin says it all. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. Just like that, the dream he bled for is handed to him on a silver platter. But his acceptance letter comes with a surprise accessory, a mysterious portal opening right at his feet. The professor isn't just handing out scholarships, he's activating a full-blown summoning. And crashing the party is a man who looks like he eats S-class hunters for breakfast. The newcomer isn't here for a friendly chat. He's here to call out the professor by name and demand answers. He accuses the professor of scheming, and that look in his eyes says this is about way more than one F-rank kid. But the professor just throws the accusation right back, because this little recruitment session just walked into a high-level power struggle. The newcomer isn't just anyone. He's here to hold the professor accountable, and he's not asking nicely. He's not just angry, he's accusing the professor of pulling a cheap trick, and he's not falling for it. And just when you think this couldn't get more complicated, Taegyong realizes the S-class powerhouse who just crashed his party is his dad. But the professor just laughs it off, casually insulting the most dangerous man in the room like they're old rivals. Dad's not here for jokes. He's here for answers, and he's about to tear this gym apart to get them. The professor plays it cool, pretending he just sent a couple of recommendation letters, leaving Taegyong to connect the dots between his mentor and his father. And then he drops the bombshell. He didn't just recruit the F-rank failure, he recruited his S-class sister too. Dad's answer is a hard no, trying to shield his daughter, but he's about to find out he has no say in the matter. The professor just smirks because her inability to adjust is the exact reason she needs his help. He lays out the terrifying truth. His daughter isn't a miracle. She's a ticking time bomb, and Seunghyun Academy is the only place that can defuse her. Dad insists he can train his own daughter, but the professor hits him with a hard, "No, you can't." The professor calls him out on his stubborn pride, and you can tell this isn't their first argument. And then Dad throws his own son under the bus, calling him a talentless nobody right to his face. He's not just crushing his son's dream, he's telling him it's a one-way ticket to the grave. But for the first time ever, someone stands up for our boy, and the professor is not holding back. He throws Dad's words right back at him, because he saw the kid charge into an S-class meltdown without a second thought. He's not just defending Taegyong, he's challenging the world's strongest hunter to admit he's wrong about his own son. But Dad just twists his son's heroism into a fatal flaw, calling it reckless stupidity. And then he turns the tables, putting his son on trial and forcing him to admit he ran in completely blind. Taegyong can't even answer because the truth is he had no plan, just a desperate need to save the one person he had left. Dad's not done twisting his son's one victory into a lucky accident. He calls his son's strategy a one-way ticket to the morgue, and you can see the last bit of Taegyong's spirit just die. And then comes the final blow. You'll be crushed, turning his son's dream school into a nightmare. But the professor just laughs, basically telling the world's strongest hunter to go cry to the principal. And our boy is stuck in the crossfire, wondering why his father is fighting so hard to keep him a failure. All he ever wanted was to hear his dad say, "Good job," just once. He saved his sister, and all he gets is a lecture because in this family, heroes don't get praised. And you can see him physically holding back a lifetime of begging for a single word of approval. But the family drama is interrupted by a new face with a smug grin and a name that isn't his. And suddenly, the fight isn't about him anymore because his father's eyes are locked on the real threat in the room. The newcomer cuts through the noise, trying to remind Taegyong that he just won the lottery. But our boy is so used to losing, he can't even accept the win, still paralyzed by his father's rejection. So the stranger gives him the one piece of advice his father never would. Trust yourself. And in one sentence, this new guy offers the validation Taegyong has been craving his entire life. With that, the fire his father tried so hard to extinguish finally reignites. Because he's right, you don't need approval from anyone. Especially not from a father who's been blind to his son's real strength all along. Dad's cold "I see" isn't an agreement. It's the sound of a man realizing he's just lost control. But the stranger finally puts it all together, realizing Taegyong's obsession was never about being a hero. It was always about the one man he could never impress. Dad goes nuclear, blaming the professor for giving his son the one thing he never would: hope. And all that pressure finally makes our boy crack, caught between his father's rage and a stranger's kindness. But this isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough, and he thanks the one guy who helped him see clearly. He finally admits it. At first, it really was all about his father. He just wanted to be the hero his dad was, chasing a shadow that never looked back. He calls his own dreams pathetic, a desperate need for approval from a man who only gave him scorn. But saving his sister changed everything, because for the first time he wasn't fighting for his dad. In that moment, he wasn't the pathetic kid anymore. He was the hero he was always meant to be. And with that one realization, the decision that will define his entire future is made. He looks his father dead in the eye and declares war, ready to fight the one man standing in his way. And that's the look of a father realizing his son is no longer afraid of him. He's not just angry, he's seeing a rebellion he always knew was coming. He decides talking is over, because some lessons have to be beaten into you. So he makes his move, ready to end this little rebellion before it even starts. But our boy calls his bluff, daring the world's strongest hunter to try and stop him. He's scared out of his mind, but for the first time, he's not backing down. But instead of a fight, Dad hits him with a prophecy. This path will only lead to his destruction. And then he drops a condition so unexpected, it short-circuits the entire room. Get into the student council. The deal is simple. Prove you're not a failure in 1 year, or he'll drag him home himself. And then comes the second condition, the one that changes everything. Protect your sister. The professor just rolls his eyes because Dad is finally agreeing to a plan that was his idea in the first place. And the threat isn't just for him, it's for his sister too. Fail, and they're both getting dragged home. With his future on the line, our boy accepts the impossible challenge. And with the ultimatum delivered, the world's strongest hunter walks away, leaving nothing but chaos in his wake. The three of them are left standing in the wreckage of a family drama they didn't sign up for. Taegyong finally exhales, admitting he genuinely thought his own father was about to erase him. But the family drama isn't over because the stranger is about to call out the professor for his insane plan. He lays it out plain and simple. Telling him to get into the student council wasn't a challenge, it was a death sentence. Because the student council is a club for geniuses, and our boy just got handed an F-rank ticket to an impossible game. But the professor just shrugs it off, basically saying, if the kid wants to play with the big dogs, he'd better learn to bite. But the stranger cuts through the tension, and you realize he's not talking to our boy, he's calling out the professor. And the professor admits he never wanted to drag another kid into this life of chaos. Because the stranger reveals his own secret. He started out just like Taegyong, chasing his father's shadow. And now he's watching his mentor walk away, realizing he just pushed our boy down the same broken path. A month later, his sister is all smiles, holding the admission letter that just painted a giant target on her back. While she's celebrating, Taegyong is training like his life depends on it, because it literally does. And just like that, it's time to go. Welcome to the Seunghyun Academy cruise ship, a floating high school for future legends and walking disasters. He's ready for war, she's ready for summer camp, and neither of them has a clue what's waiting for them on the other side. He's just a kid, but he's staring into the face of a nightmare he can't wake up from. He sees survivors, a chance for hope, but the woman holding him back knows it's already too late. A savior descends from the light, a hunter, the very person meant to protect them from this chaos. But this isn't a hero, this is an executioner, and he's just chosen his next targets. And in one raw scream, the entire system he believed in is exposed as a fraud. Flash forward, and that little boy is now a man, haunted by a past that won't let him sleep. The past is over, but for him, the screaming never really stopped. And just like that, his very private hell gets an unexpected visitor. He plays it cool, of course, because how do you explain that your nightmares are actually memories? A new student, you say? He's just enrolled in the one place that might hold the key to his revenge. His new roommate seems friendly enough, maybe a little too eager for a place crawling with secrets. Subin shakes his hand, but that smile doesn't reach his eyes. He's not here to make friends, he's here to find targets. And just like that, we jump to a luxury cruise ship. Hold on, whose story are we telling now? Meet the new kids who casually unpack a case of useful things they swiped from their dad. Totally normal. She's worried about getting grounded. He's more concerned with the fact their dad isn't someone you just steal from. And of course, the innocent one decides to wander off alone on a ship where everyone has something to hide. He tries to stop her, but she's already out the door, leaving him with a cabin number and a very bad feeling. Her plan for dealing with strangers is to scream for him, a promise that sounds a lot like foreshadowing. He thinks he's just babysitting, but you can see the fear in his eyes. He knows this is a bad idea. The calm before the storm, because as he looks out at that perfect sky, he knows the most important part is the part where it all goes wrong. He calls it making connections, but it sounds more like a strategy for a war you don't know you're in. In this school, you don't make friends, you acquire assets, and he's here to give a masterclass. But just when you think you've got him pegged, he reveals that's just level 1 thinking. He's not just monologuing, he's sizing up the new kid, Sun Purium, and he is not impressed. And Purium is just trying to process this unsolicited lecture on social warfare while sipping his juice box. After all that intense psychobabble, his real motivation is about to drop. And the big dark secret to his master plan? He just wants his friend to introduce him to a cute girl. Meet Jian Woojin, a man whose strategic genius is fueled entirely by romantic desperation. One second he's a mess, the next he's on the prowl, claiming he's already found a target. And his eyes land on a certain someone who just wandered off alone. Our two storylines are about to crash. She's just trying to feed the birds, completely unaware she's the one being hunted. A moment of clumsiness, and just like that, the perfect excuse presents itself. And here comes our hero, executing a flawless snack retrieval maneuver. So smooth. He returns the prize, and you can practically see the heart emojis popping over her head. Mission accomplished. She's completely charmed by this random act of kindness. The narrator confirms what we already know. The seagulls were never the target. Nope, the real prize was her, and our boy Woojin thinks he's just hit the jackpot. He goes in for the kill with the classic, "Are you new here?" line, trying way too hard to be casual. Meanwhile, his friends are watching this train wreck, and even they can't tell if this is genius or just sad. But then our boy Subin, watching from the sidelines, realizes the horrifying truth. She's not staying because she's interested. She's staying because she's cornered. Subin asks about their new friend, only to learn that Woojin isn't a second year, he's a repeater. At this school, you don't get second chances unless your family has enough cash to buy you back in after you've been expelled. While some students are just here for the luxury cruise, others are playing a game with much higher stakes. The ultimate prize is a diploma that guarantees your future, and some people are desperate enough to do anything for it. But Subin isn't thinking about job security. He's thinking about the corrupt heroes this system creates. And with a crushed can and a look of pure hatred, he makes it clear. He's not here to graduate, he's here to judge. Before his friend can even question that sudden intensity, he realizes their targets are making a move. Woojin leads the girl away, thinking he's won, but he's actually taking her somewhere far more private. And that's Subin's cue. He's not just an observer anymore, he's officially on the hunt. Cut back to the cabin, where her brother suddenly looks up, as if he just heard his sister's silent scream for help. She stumbles back into the room, and her brother's worst fears are about to be confirmed. And the guy who caused the problem is now pretending to be her biggest protector. Oh, the drama! You can practically see the fake outrage boiling over. The story starts, and with every detail, her brother's calm demeanor begins to crack. And that's the trigger word, the one that turns this overprotective brother into a walking declaration of war. Just as Subin and his friend locate the room, they realize the party has already started without them. The brother doesn't bother with a handle, he just introduces the door to Woojin's face. Our boy Woojin tries to appeal to reason, completely forgetting that reason just left the building. He's got a very unique communication style, and it's about to get extremely hands-on. And while everyone else panics, Subin just calmly assesses the situation, confirming his target is exactly the kind of trash he came here to burn. And here's the plot twist. The girl he cornered has the mind of a child after a 12-year coma. The fight's over, but now we're stuck in the most awkward post-brawl therapy session ever. Turns out the overprotective brother is the same age as our revenge-obsessed protagonist. Subin turns on the charm, introducing himself to the guy whose life he's about to complicate. And the brother, Seunghyun, is completely oblivious, just trying to survive this weird social encounter. And just like that, our two separate storylines merge into one very dysfunctional supergroup. The questions start, and surprise, surprise, the new guy is training to be a hunter. He doesn't just want to be a hunter. His dad is a hunter, and that changes everything. Suddenly, a casual conversation feels more like an interrogation. But it's the last name that stops everyone cold, because Kai isn't just any name in the world of hunters. Subin drops a name, and suddenly this isn't a friendly chat, it's a test. And just like that, the answer confirms it. His ultimate target has a son, and he's standing right here. The peanut gallery absolutely loses their minds. They're in the presence of celebrity royalty. They're fawning over a national hero, but Subin's dead silent stare tells a very different story. This is the face of the man they all admire. A hero to the world, but a demon in Subin's memories. For Subin, this isn't a lucky break. It's fate delivering his revenge on a silver platter. The son of a legend is now the center of attention, completely unaware of the real reason one person is so interested. One kid's role model is another kid's nightmare, and they're all trapped on the same boat. His new friend shares a childhood dream, trying to build a bridge to the one person who's only here to burn them. And the question hangs in the air, because on this ship, everyone's story has a chapter they don't want you to read. His new friend admits he's just an E-rank engineer, because some dreams have prerequisites. And the new guy, Seunghyun, tries to relate by admitting he's an even lower F rank, so he's just sitting this one out. But his sister drops a bomb with a smile. Her F-rank brother is in the hunter department, and the math isn't mathing. And just like that, the entire group's understanding of the system short-circuits. He stammers for an explanation, because some secrets aren't meant for public broadcast. The answer? Special recommendation, the polite term for when daddy's money speaks louder than your test scores. He tries to shut her down, but the cat's out of the bag, and everyone just got a front-row seat to their family drama. His friend calls out to him, trying to process the fact that the rules apparently don't apply to everyone. Seunghyun tries to play it off with a feel-good speech about hard work, completely ignoring the privilege he just exposed. But Subin isn't buying the pep talk. He's connecting the dots, and the picture it's forming is one he plans to tear apart. The ship sails on, a floating paradise completely unaware it's carrying a ticking time bomb. While his friend is dying of boredom, Subin is busy plotting the death of a legacy. He decides to check on his new, very intense roommate, who's been staring at the ocean like he's planning to fight it. He asks if Subin's seasick, completely missing the fact that the kid is drowning in something much deeper than the ocean. And Subin just agrees because sick of this entire corrupt world is a bit of a conversation killer. The sky is clear, the birds are flying, and the stage is perfectly set for an emotional interrogation. And then he drops it, the one question Subin has been avoiding his entire life. Subin tries to deflect, but his friend cuts him off, demanding the real story, not the brochure. He's not asking about a career choice, he's asking about the fire that's burning behind his eyes. And for the first time, the mask cracks, because when your only conviction is revenge, what do you say to a friend? He gives the coldest, most obvious lie you've ever heard. Never really thought about it. But his friend isn't buying it, calling out the phonies who become hunters for all the wrong reasons. He's basically describing the exact kind of person Subin despises, the fame chasers and money grabbers. And just like that, the real Subin shows up, spitting venom about heroes who take the glory but shirk the duty. His friend just listens, realizing he's not talking to a kid with a dream, he's talking to a judge with a grudge. So he asks the million-dollar question, if you hate them so much, why are you trying to become one? And the answer is so pure, so heroic, you almost forget he's here to burn the whole system down. But his friend's response is a gut punch. If you really want to be a hero, this is the last place you should be. That wasn't a threat. It was a warning from someone who knows this school doesn't build heroes, it breaks them. Sohyun is left completely speechless because the one person who saw through his act just told him to run. His friend continues the lecture, explaining that in this world, hard work is a joke and your power is just a lottery ticket. And once your rank is set, that's it. You're stuck with it for life. He lays out the school's dirty little secret. It's not for the strong, it's for the rich. A system designed to benefit the children of wealthy, powerful men. And then he looks right at Sohyun and says, people like you. Purim gets defensive, trying to claim he's not one of them. He was just a late bloomer. But Sohyun isn't buying the excuses, coldly reminding him that awakening has nothing to do with effort. He drops a chilling theory. You don't gain powers, you just finally realize you had them all along. That heroic moment from their new friend? Just a lucky break, not some grand destiny. And the final nail in the coffin. The special recommendation is just proof that some people don't need luck when they have money. Sohyun continues his sermon, boiling their entire future down to a single brutal word: luck. He's not just being cynical, he's telling his friend to his face that everything he has is unearned. And then he twists the knife, turning his friend's hopeful speech about hard work into a personal attack. He scoffs at the fairy tale that anyone can succeed, because he's seen firsthand how the system crushes dreams. For Sohyun, that empty optimism isn't just naive, it's a slap in the face to everyone who never got lucky. And we see the memory that triggered him, a simple, hopeful phrase that sounds like a lie in this corrupt world. He hits below the belt, calling him as clueless as his sister, and that is the final straw. But a moment of fury is nothing against a lifetime of rage, and Sohyun sidesteps the punch like it's a gentle breeze. And just like that, the confrontation is over before it began, with his friend face down on the deck. Sohyun plays it off with a laugh, deliberately calling him by the wrong name just to add a final layer of humiliation. He's still trying to process the laws of physics, while his sister's voiceover delivers the final humiliation. It wasn't a dodge. He realizes an invisible force deflected his punch, and his roommate is hiding a hell of a secret. Sohyun doesn't just win the fight, he delivers a condescending lecture on emotional control. And Purim throws the accusation right back, claiming it's cynics like Sohyun who are the real problem. The final blow isn't a punch, it's the cold, hard advice to just give up on his dream. But just as he walks away, he learns a very important lesson. Never turn your back on the guy you just humiliated. And in a perfect reversal of fortune, the untouchable judge is brought to his knees. Purim isn't just angry anymore. He's about to dismantle every single one of Sohyun's bitter arguments. Sohyun plays along, admitting he might have been lucky, but you can see in his eyes this fight is far from over. But Purim hits him with the one truth he can't argue with. Lucky or not, he's here and he's not backing down. Purim stands over him, making a vow. He's not just here to stay, he's here to win. But Sohyun just smirks from the floor because in this school, willpower doesn't beat a low rank. So Purim throws down the gauntlet, a midnight duel to settle who's the real phony. And that's the first genuine smile we've seen on Sohyun's face. He just loves a good demolition. The sky breaks, the storm rolls in, and this pleasure cruise is about to become a battleground. But hold on, we jump to a dream, a soft voice promising that everything will be okay, a memory of a glowing spirit, a promise that some things never truly disappear. And it's Seunghyun's sister, reliving a past that's more real to her than the present. She wakes up trying to convince herself it was just a nightmare, but the tears say otherwise. And the first thing she does is call for her brother, only to find his bed is empty. She's wandering the ship's dark corridors, because on a boat full of superpowered teens, what could possibly go wrong? And just like that, her one protector is gone, leaving her all alone in the dark. A hand from the shadows, a scream in the night. Looks like this pleasure cruise has a horror section. But it's not a monster. It's just Woo Jin and his crew, who apparently major in late-night jump scares. She fires back the question because finding a group of students lurking in the hall is just as weird. They're not hunting, they're just recruiting for a freshman get-together, and she's the newest potential pledge. And just like that, the creepy encounter turns into a party invitation. Social whiplash is a real thing at this school. The logic is simple. Might as well get to know the people who might get you expelled later. And with the promise of new friends, all thoughts of her missing brother vanish in a puff of social anxiety. They lead her to a private room, completely unaware that two other students are about to turn the deck into a private war zone. While our heroes are squaring off, Woojin's crew is already celebrating his defeat like it's the funniest story they've ever heard. The queen bee of this little get-together finally speaks, and her welcome sounds more like a command. And just as they're settling in, Woojin arrives, looking like he's just walked into his own surprise intervention. He takes one look around the room and immediately tries to bail, because some parties are just not worth the risk. His excuse? You didn't tell me he was here. And suddenly, this isn't a party, it's a trap. But our little wanderer is completely oblivious, distracted by the promise of free snacks and zero drama. Woojin is frozen solid, because the he's so terrified of is the brother of the girl he just messed with. The host isn't letting him escape that easily, practically daring him to run. Defeated by peer pressure, he agrees to stay, proving that social humiliation is his true weakness. And when his friend asks who the new girl is, Woojin plays it off cool, conveniently leaving out the part where her brother rearranged his face. The host gives her a friendly pat, but you just know this is the welcome you get before you're socially executed. And there's the smile of a girl who's already decided she hates you. Welcome to the Viper's Nest. The conversation turns to the missing brother, and suddenly everyone realizes the main event isn't at this party. And it's not just him. Subin is gone too, and two missing students on this ship is never a coincidence. His mind flashes back to the deck, and he finally connects the dots between the argument and the empty rooms. He thinks it's just a rivalry, but he has no idea he's thinking about the opening act of a war. Cut to the duel where Purium is ready to throw down, but first, a fashion critique. Subin shows up dressed for a storm, and his opponent is more confused than intimidated. The stage is set, the rain is pouring, and the trash talk is officially underway. Purium mocks his outfit, and Subin's response is a masterclass in not caring what his opponent thinks. Subin's response is so cold, he's basically saying he'll stay dry right up until the moment he puts you on the ground. And Purium is just standing there, wondering if he challenged a genius or a complete moron. He gets his answer when his opponent stops talking and starts summoning a water spirit out of thin air. But Subin isn't even flinching, because he's got a little secret of his own wrapped around his arm. Purium lays out his home field advantage. He controls water, and they're in the middle of a storm on the ocean. And for the first time, we see a crack in Subin's composure. Maybe he finally picked a fight he can't win. Purium gives him one last chance to walk away, with a threat that sounds a lot like a promise. But Subin just grins, reminding him that he's not the one who started this mess. And with that, Purium decides the time for warnings is officially over. The first attack is launched, and suddenly, this schoolyard argument has turned into a full-blown elemental war. Purium unleashes a tidal wave of power, ready to wash away every bit of Subin's arrogance. He's putting every ounce of his will into this one shot, determined to prove that hard work beats luck. But his ultimate attack hits an invisible wall, and the only thing that gets washed away is him. And Subin's reaction to this all-out assault? Not even a flinch. He even has the nerve to call it impressive, right before shattering what's left of Purium's pride. Impressive for an F rank, that is. But now it's time for a real lesson in power. And that's when Purium realizes the horrifying truth. His roommate isn't just strong, he's breaking the fundamental rules of the system. Subin calls his power useless, preparing to show him the difference between a party trick and a true weapon. You can't attack when you're pinned by an enemy who's playing a completely different game. And you definitely can't defend when you realize you were never even a threat to begin with. He doesn't just block the attack, he shatters it with contempt, sending Purium to his knees. But Purium isn't done yet, summoning a chain of pure energy for round 2. Subin counters with a glowing crystal, and you can almost hear Purium's internal scream of, "Not this again." He effortlessly shatters the chain, taunting him with the one question you never want to hear. Is that the only trick you know? And then comes the final, soul-crushing reveal. You realize I haven't moved a single step this whole time. The lecture continues, hammering home the one point Subin wants to make. You are not good enough to be here. And the crushing reality hits him. All his effort, all his power, and his opponent didn't even have to move. But just as he's about to break, he looks up with a smirk, because he's finally figured out the trick. The untouchable judge wasn't standing still out of arrogance. He was standing still because he was caught. And just like that, the hunter is chained to the floor, and Purium finally has him right where he wants him. Subin is absolutely losing his mind, realizing he's been outplayed by the same move twice. And just like that, the untouchable judge gets a taste of gravity, courtesy of a very angry F rank. But Purim isn't just gloating. He's about to drop a truth bomb that will change the entire fight. The big secret to his strategy? It's not a strategy at all, it's the only move he has. And with that one confession, he calls Subin's bluff, realizing the all-powerful judge is hiding a secret of his own. He lays it out plain and simple. You're not as strong as you pretend to be, are you? The logic is brutal and undeniable. No real powerhouse gets taken down by a nobody like him. And for the first time, Subin's condescending smirk vanishes, replaced by a cold, hard admission of defeat. He agrees to stop holding back, and suddenly the air crackles with a power that has no business being on this ship. Purim can only stare in disbelief because he just won the argument, but he's pretty sure he's about to lose the war. And just like that, Purim realizes he didn't just pick a fight, he challenged a walking cheat code. Forget F rank, forget special recommendations. Subin is an SSS rank summoner, the highest tier in existence. Meanwhile, back at the party, the only SSS rank they're talking about is how lucky their friend got in a board game. She thinks it's just a game, but the host explains this isn't your average family game night. This is Monopoly for superhumans, where the game scans your real-life powers to create your character. And now it's Seunghyun's turn to put his stats on the table, literally. He tells her to watch closely, about to reveal the secret of his power to the whole room. The system scans him, preparing to put all his cards on the table. The result? A low-stat wizard, confirming he's not a physical powerhouse, but that intelligence score is another story. And that's when she reveals the terrifying truth. This isn't just a game, it's a training simulation for actual combat. She's handed a game piece about to put her own stats on display for the entire room. She's just a kid in a coma survivor's body, and now she's being forced to play a game she doesn't understand. But when she touches the piece, nothing happens. No glow, no class, just a blank slate. The veterans are stumped. They've never seen the system fail to read a player before. And then the game board flashes an error message that sends a chill down everyone's spine. The system can't analyze her abilities, but it can identify what she is. And the word it drops is one that's supposed to be a myth: returnee. The whole room explodes because a returnee isn't just rare, they're a walking legend. Forget hidden classes, forget S ranks. A returnee is someone who came back from the dead, and she's standing right there. And the host looks at this innocent girl in pajamas and realizes she might be the most dangerous person on the entire ship. The host is about to drop some hard truths, and our girl is not ready for it. The friendly advice? Keep your biggest secret buried, because being a returnee isn't a gift, it's a target. She's too innocent to understand that some labels are a death sentence. The host explains that coming back from another world isn't a miracle. It's a trauma that leaves scars no one can see. And when those scars don't heal, a legendary hero can quickly become a legendary villain. Oh, and by the way, the very technology designed to keep superhumans in check, completely useless on them. You're not just a person with S-rank power. You're an untraceable, unstoppable natural disaster waiting to happen. So the host lays it out cold. In this world, being a legend doesn't get you respect.
It gets you fear, and she's just become the scariest person in the room.
And in that moment, she realizes her brother wasn't protecting her from the world. He was protecting the world from her. After that bombshell, the room's response isn't fear. It's a demand for story time. She's still processing being a walking legend, and now they want her to do a Q&A. They're not asking about the trauma, they're asking for the highlight reel from her trip to another dimension. And just like that, the game assigns one of them a Dragon Slayer class, because this party is full of main characters. She's literally asking permission to exist, holding her secret like it's a live grenade. But the host plays it cool, because making the new girl feel safe is step one in finding out all her weaknesses. And just like that, a few kind words and a poker face are enough to make her lower her guard. She's not just curious, she's finally ready to talk, completely unaware she's walking into a verbal minefield. The questions start out like a fantasy novel book club, all fun and games about demon lords. And then the host drops the one question that turns this friendly chat into a stone-cold interrogation. And that's the question that shatters her composure, because some memories don't just haunt you, they try to claw their way out. Meanwhile, back on deck, the storm has passed, and the SSS ranker is left standing alone. He admits his opponent was smarter, faster, and had better tactics. A real shame. But in the end, strategy doesn't matter when you're the one staring up at the sky. But even on the ground, Purim isn't broken. He's just getting a front-row seat to Subin's victory speech. Because in this world, hard work is just a sad story you tell right before you get crushed by someone who was born lucky. And in a twisted parallel, the exact same lesson is being taught back at the party. The host lays out the world's cruelest joke. Some people get their dreams handed to them without even asking. For Subin, it's simple. Your will can only get you so far before you hit a wall made of money and power. And the host's friendly advice ends with a chilling promise. I'm not the one you should be afraid of on this ship. And the final insult isn't the defeat, it's the pity. A warning that this school only offers pain. But just when you think he's broken, he brings up the one man who defies all of Subin's cynical logic. The ultimate counter-argument, his heroic father wasn't an S rank or even an A rank. But he did the impossible anyway, clearing S rank gates and proving rank is just a number. And with tears in his eyes, he defends the one true hero he's ever known. And that's the mic drop. His father's success wasn't luck, it was earned with pure, unadulterated effort. He throws Subin's whole philosophy back in his face, demanding to know who gave him the right to judge his potential. And that's the moment Subin stops arguing and starts interrogating, using Purium's own pride as the bait. He names a specific gate, a specific time, and with one question he connects Purium's hero to his own personal hell. And the fear on Purium's face confirms it. He knows exactly what incident Subin is talking about, and it's a story he never wanted to tell. Purium demands to know why he's digging up the past, but Subin's not talking about history. He's talking about a body count. He screams that a hunter had to make a hard choice and the world has already forgiven him. But Subin remembers that day a little differently, because he was the kid screaming in the front row. He tries to justify his father's actions, claiming there were reasons for the tragedy. And Subin drops the one reason that trumps all others. My sister died there. And in one raw scream, he finally puts a name to his nightmare. Your father did this. The son of a national hero is left speechless, realizing his family's legacy is built on a lie. Subin scoffs at the excuses, ready to tear apart the fairy tale of the greater good. He spits the hero's logic right back at him, the cold, cruel math of sacrificing the few for the many. And he ends with the one question that shatters the entire system. Aren't you supposed to protect everyone? The fight is over, but the interrogation has just begun, and Subin is going straight for the soul. He's not asking about his rank anymore. He's asking what kind of monster he plans to become. He twists the knife, asking how he can praise a hero who built his legacy on a pile of bodies. The rain stops, but the storm between them is just getting started. But hold on, they're not alone. Someone's been watching this whole private war from the shadows. And just when you think things can't get any more intense, the sister bursts in with the most urgent crisis of all. The entire room just freezes, because nothing kills a vibe like a pajama-clad girl having a bathroom emergency. The host finds this absolutely hilarious, proving her social sadism knows no bounds. But her friend calls her out. That whole interrogation wasn't random, it was a calculated attack. She plays it off with a smile, then immediately pivots to sizing up the new girl's stats. This isn't a party, it's an intelligence operation. The group is stunned to learn she's in the hunter department because with her stats, that's a death sentence. And the host just smirks, delivering the coldest prediction of the night. She's not gonna last. She drops a bombshell. This school doesn't just teach you to hunt monsters. It teaches you to take out people, a lesson Subin has just finished delivering on the deck. And with a casual flick of a chip, she reminds them that everyone on this ship signed up for the same bloody game. The poor girl flees in terror because she just realized this isn't a school, it's a predator training ground. She collapses in the hallway, kicking herself for running when she should have stood her ground. All she had to do was tell the truth, that she's never had to make that choice, but the words wouldn't come out. Because that one question dragged up a memory so violent, it still feels like it's happening right now. And in her mind, she's right back there, a lone survivor in a scene of absolute devastation, wondering if she's the monster they all see. Her trauma has a name, and it looks like a ghost from a forgotten dream. She's not just running from a party, she's running from the hope that she could ever be normal. And of course, the one person she's trying to escape is waiting for her right around the corner. The host reintroduces herself, and you can just feel the social pressure crushing our poor girl. She asks if she's okay, but what she's really asking is, are you done being useful to me? She's not disappointed about the game, she's disappointed her new lab rat won't perform on command. She admits she can't handle it, because some secrets are too heavy to carry alone. The host just watches, and you can't tell if that's pity or a predator studying its prey. And then she hits her with the most insane icebreaker ever. I almost took someone out once too. She's not just sharing a backstory, she's building a bridge to a very dangerous place. Her sob story starts with a classic. I lost control of my powers and my friends paid the price. But our little coma survivor isn't having any of that self-pity, firing back with a dose of pure, undiluted hope. And the advice is so simple, so pure, that for a moment, the queen of social warfare is actually speechless. But that moment of connection triggers a deeper memory, and suddenly, we're not on a ship anymore. In this frozen world, a younger Seunghyun is being questioned about a legendary landmark she somehow relocated. Her answer? She didn't move it, she just had a little chat with it. Yeah, that's not weird at all. And we see the rock in question, a literal mountain of sadness, crying actual waterfalls. The spirit begins to explain the therapy session. First, you listen to the rock's problems. And then you hit it with your own emotional baggage. It's called mutual despair. And the result of this impromptu therapy session, the rock felt so much better it just got up and left. Her solution to a mountain's depression? Convince it to go for a walk. Her worldview is simple. Rocks, clouds, people, they're all just lonely and need a friend. And with a friendly wave, she proves that her solution to everything is just being nice. She takes that insane logic and applies it to the Queen of Mean, who is clearly not impressed. And with a smile that could melt glaciers, she truly believes she's just made a new best friend. The host smiles back, but it's the kind of smile that says, "You are the most pathetic creature I have ever met." But their little heart-to-heart gets interrupted by a rogue wave because this ship's drama has a splash zone, and they peek around the corner to find Subin's private war has just gone public. They've just stumbled out of one interrogation and straight into the main event, and they're just in time to hear the son of a hero desperately trying to justify his father's sins. The accusation drops, and it's loud enough to shatter every hero myth on this ship, and he puts a name to the villain of his story, your father. And the one person who shouldn't have heard that just heard everything. She's trying to get the full story, but from this distance, she's only getting the emotional shrapnel. But her mind is racing, connecting her own family's past to this stranger's nightmare. The puzzle pieces click into a horrifying picture, just as Subin goes back to his favorite pastime, psychological warfare. He throws his opponent's own noble dream right back in his face, turning it into an accusation. And the son of a hero has no answer, because his entire worldview just got demolished. He tries to fall back on admiration, but Subin's stare says he knows that's just another word for ignorance. And just when you think it can't get more complicated, her brother steps in to defend the one person he should be running from. The host's lecture continues, reminding everyone that some people came here for dreams, not just demolition. And we see the fire that fuels him, a lifetime of rejection and a promise to prove them all wrong. And in that moment, he realizes every dream is a declaration of war, and every warrior deserves respect. But Subin hits him with the ultimate plot twist. We're exactly the same. And with a roar of defiance, Puraeum shatters not just the restraints, but the entire foundation of Subin's argument. He screams the question we're all thinking, refusing to be lumped in with a monster who gave up on hope. And just as the fight reaches its peak, his sister's scream cuts through the chaos because she's finally found her brother.